Our next speaker for the day is Dr. Nick Lee, CEO of the Light Chain, South Korea. Dr. Lee was the CEO and president of iBox Telecom, a company that he led from nothing to $5 million a year within 3 years. He was a professor at Kook University for a decade, an associate dean and professor at the Graduate School of Business, CHA University. He was the founder of the W3C blockchain community and a primary founder and president of the Korea Society of Data Science. He was also the convener of the ISO blockchain TC307SG4. Currently, Dr. Lee is the CEO of the Light Chain, a company specializing in blockchain technology. He is also the project leader of Ecoverse, the first ever self-sustainable blockchain platform for daily usability embracing the Ubuntu economy. Today, Sir will be talking about crypto sustainability for global good. I'd like to hand over the stage to Dr. Nick Lee.
Can I have a microphone? Microphone. You know, when I heard, the conference, this forum, title of the forum was blockchain for global good. I loved it. I loved the name of it because I wanted to speak about crypto sustainability for global good. So we are in line. You know, Dr. Jaron and we are in line. So I want to explain why. You know. It has been about now. I'm a Korean, so I have to talk about Korean matters, right? So, do you trust these people? We're talking all about trust. Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptoverse, and all that is about, trust. Now, in the offline, you see these people, Trump, he said, I'm in love with this guy. Do you trust that person? Huh? And this guy, with that face, when he say that, and he says, I still have faith in Trump. Do you trust this guy? No. Right? You never trust those people. The thing is, in offline, you don't have a trust. Even if in offline, you don't have a trust. Now we want to build a trust in the cyberspace. That's the problem, right? So in this talk, I will review what are the problems we have troubled for the last 10 years. We have Bitcoins. Bitcoin, it is good, but it is the first one. Had so many errors in it, so many problems in it, so many concepts that was not in it. You see? There are so many things we did not know. Just like first automobile that was ever invented for human beings. First automobile that was ever invented for human beings, that was invented by French person, by the way, Mr. Quinault. Mr. Quinault, his first invention did not have a brake, you see. You know why? At that time, there was no concept as a brake. Because before Quinault, the automobile, they all had was an animal pulling cart. Because when you have animal pulling cart, animals, they don't need a brake. You don't need to have a brake applied. You just pull the cord and say, woo, woo, they will stop, right? Animal pulled cart. There was no concept such as a brake. That's why the first automobile ever built for a human being did not have a brake. Obviously, they did not have honkers. They did not have, headlights. So when you do not have a brake, what do you know what is going to be happen? If you meet the downhill, you are dead. That's exactly what happened with Dr. Kuno. Excuse me. In these days, everyone is a doctor. There are more doctors than those people are not doctors in these days. So sorry. So I tend to put doctors in everyone's names, but that was wrong, right? Anyway, Mr. Quino, he did not have a brake, and his first car got into an accident in his first testing. Yeah, it got crashed, and he got jailed. You see? Bitcoin is that. Bitcoin is nothing more than that. But what we are going to say, what we're going to explain is that what happened for the past 10 years. What kind of problems we tried to solve for the past 10 years. Before we do that, however, let me see, this one first. Do you know this guy, New York University professor? He said he went to U.S. Senate hearing committee, and he said this cryptocurrency we see is what is that? Mother and father of all the scams and bubbles. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? You better believe that. Because they don't have brakes. It's not that they're wrong, but it is not going to deliver us to the moon, you see? They all saying you're going to go to the moon right now. But that's not true. The fact is this, the current technology right now, the technology we have right now is the first automobile, especially Bitcoin is. Right? Bitcoin is great technology. I'm not saying it is not great technology, but it is going to deliver us to the moon, right? To the moon. How many years later? From Dr. Quino's, Quino's automobile was invented 1761 or something. It was a couple of 100 years later that we went to the moon, right? 1969, excuse me. That Apollo 1 went to the moon 200 and some years later. That is what we are talking about. They are all talking about beautiful things. That is not going to be happening. So what I'm saying is, when someone come to you and say that this Bitcoin is wonderful technology, they will bring you to the moon, don't trust them. There's only one technology, though. My technology will deliver to you to the moon. But anyway, but then this. Am I the only one talking about these problems? No, not at all. There are papers actually saying self-destruction of cryptocurrencies. This guy's name is another French name, I think. Dr. Courtois. Dr. Courtois from University College London in UK. And he wrote a paper saying programmed self-destruction of cryptocurrencies. Right? Self-destruction, what does it mean? Programmed self-destruction, what does it mean? It is going to disappear sometime down the road if we don't fix that, if we don't fix problems. The person, Dr. Courtois, was actually talking about all the technical issues. He outlines all the technical issues, 89 pages long. Most of the problems were actually enumerated by Dr. Jaren's presentation there. He didn't go into all the details, but there are problems. There are attacks and hackings, and all those are possible. But this guy, Dr. Rubini, he's an economist. Dr. Courtois was a technical person, technology person. He was actually talking about technological issues. But this guy is talking, Dr. Rubini is talking economic issues. So we're going to discuss that later on. But let's review what happened for the technology for the past years. We thought, in the cyberspace, you think about it, Bitcoin was invented to have this, uncertain number of people in the cyberspace do the transactions, do the trading, without knowing the other side, without having the third party involved. That's basically he wanted to have. He greatly, depended on the cryptography. And that, how you can trust the people in the darkness or in the cyberspace. That was, simplified, problem is called the Byzantine generalist problem. So he wanted to have this to be done. The cryptography, employing cryptography, he wanted to have this to be done. And he wonderfully solved the problem. And he wanted to have this done for decentralization. At that time, we have to go a little bit about the historical issues. The financial institutions actually failed the people around the world in 2008. That was financial crisis, right? So financial crisis actually brought the people the awareness that financial system is not for the average ordinary people, but they're only working for the rich people. So that's why he wanted to have decentralization done. But when you say decentralization, you have to remember decentralization that Satoshi Nakamoto wanted to bring to us was not the networking technological decentralization, but it is more wealth decentralization. You have to remember. We have a lot of discussions going on, a lot of heated debate going on with the decentralization part, but it is financial decentralization more than the network decentralization part is. Now, having said that, Satoshi Nakamoto's primary work was on cryptography. The Dr. Letnar actually had. Dr. Roy had an extensive explanation about cryptography, and that's why we need to learn the cryptography. But then again, what happened was that was not all the issues we need to have a transaction done in the cyberspace. Actually, what needs to be done is that in the cyberspace, you want to make a promise. When you send the money, when you receive the commodity in return, that is actually promise involved with it. So I send the money, you send the commodity back. That's a promise has to be done. A young people, 19-year-old guy, Buterin, thought the promise has to be done. That is, a Bitcoin blockchain is flawed because there's no promise to be done. So he said, promise. I want to make a promise. I want to make a promise to be done. And he said, actually, making a promise is a contract. He wanted to have all the contract to be programmed in a programming fashion so that people can write a program on the cryptographic platforms, right? Blockchain platforms. That's what Buterin tried to do. Buterin tried to make every contract possible into a code. So that's why he was talking about Turing machine, Turing completeness. Writing a program, contract so complicated can you convert it? Can you invent a really strong, powerful language platform for those contract conversions? So he brought the concept of Turing completeness. And he said code is law. But of course, that's not true. But anyway, he did a wonderful job about that. But then again, what was missing here, still missing here was scalability. You cannot, even if you you begin to have promises done in a smart contract form. You cannot make it daily usability here. You cannot make it daily trading. You cannot wait for 10 minutes. Actually, in Ethereum, it is 14 seconds anyway. So if you cannot wait 14 seconds, actually more than that, if you know scalability a little bit more, you actually 3-4 minutes, you have to wait 3-4 minutes for the finality time. So finality has to be solved. Now what happened? There's a guy came into the play and said, we need to have only 21 people. We need to have only a handful number of people. We want to have them to be block producers. So now having only 21 people involved with it, it becomes political science now. So I say cryptography, it began with the cryptography, and it moved to the computer science. Now it moved into political science, and they were talking about all governance issues. Now, that far, we have, for the past 10 years, that far we have challenged it so far. But there are more problems remaining. The problems? Economics. What kind of economics do we need to have? This is actually what Dr. Rubini is saying. Gini coefficient of Bitcoin is 0.99. Do you know what 0.99 is? 100 people worked together, and you got the income of $1,000. One person get all $1,000 himself. One person. That's a total inequality. When that situation happens, it is Gini coefficient being 1. Now having 0.99, it is similar to that. It is probably, out of $1,000, one person gets $999. Remaining 999 people shares the remaining $1. That's what 0.99 Gini coefficient is. That's why, Dr. Rubini is saying, you're scam. This is a scam, father and mother of all the scams and bubbles. That's the problem we have to solve. How would you solve that? That's Dr. Rubini is saying that. Dr. Rubini is saying, there is no way that you can solve. But for me, then again, I'm a better known person, right, than Dr. Rubini guy. So I'm actually solving this. So after that, actually what happened is that, hey, when you solve the problems, actually we did not know how to design a platform, economic platform. It is an economic platform now. So for those who does not know, mechanism designed to design a platform or mechanism, you cannot really solve anything. You cannot design anything. That's what Yale professor. His Yale professor's name is let me see. His name is Narayanan, Yale professor. He said, creating tokens without studying mechanism is like building new cryptocurrencies without reading any crypto papers. It doesn't mean anything, right? Let me explain it with simple words. If you design a cryptocurrency without knowing without having mechanism designs involved, without knowing mechanism design designing mechanism designing theories, what you do is that you're teaching at school. An illiterate teaching kids at the school. illiterate teaching alphabet at school. That's what it is. He's actually saying you have to know mechanism design. But then again, that's not all. That's not the remaining problem anymore. What happened is that, hey, what we have is that currently all the systems actually stems with a human greed. Isn't that true? All the cryptocurrencies are based on the greed of human beings. That's why they are going high. People are all jumping into the wagon. But then what you have to do is that somehow, I'm not saying that is totally wrong. That does some good things. But one thing that we have to have is that we have to diversify the incentives. That's the issue of social psychology. That's still remaining problems. And that's why we are based on, my system. Sorry, I'm a lot well advanced than many other. Anyway, spiral dynamic, incentive diversification is really, really needed. Another thing is, I will explain the step-centered economic system. But then what we have to do is that, mechanism design, why do we need a mechanism design? We have to have sustainability guaranteed. What I'm saying is, I said earlier, technically it is a self-destructive. And also, economically self-destructive as well. If you think about Gini coefficient being 0.99, when one person gets all the money, 99 people get money, only little money out of that. When 99 people realize that the system is malfunctioning to give them any money, they are going to leave the system. They are going to go away from it, and that's what we see. What we can foresee. It is self-destructiveness in economics. So what we have to do is that we have to design it. How do we design it? Having mechanism design involved with it. So when you have a mechanism design involved with it and begin designing to be self-sustainable, there are two attributes to be satisfied for a crypto platform. One thing is self-voluntary, and second thing is voluntary participation. Second thing is incentive compatibility. If you write with equations like that, logical equations like that, it actually says any given time a participant has to have satisfaction in the incentives given by the system. Could it be done? If you sit down and think about it, you can see it is almost impossible. How can we do that? But then what I'm saying is, how can we overcome this problem? So the problem is basically what we have is that Gini coefficient 0.99. It is one thing that you have to remember. Bitcoin says 0.99. Ethereum 0.999. EOS and Cardano, those recent ones, 0.999999. I'm sure because Cardano distribute incentives to 21 block producers. You know what block producer is? 21 people. 21 people get all the money. And because of that, there is no chance you get money from EOS and Cardano and all those depots kind of mechanisms. So, what we try to do is that can we make voluntary participation and incentive compatible so that to make that possible, can we make the consensus algorithm so that this Gini coefficient being 0, can it be possible? Probably not possible, I say. But one thing that we found is that what if you force your artificial intelligence agent actually working to be a block producer for your platform? what is going to be happened? You don't need to give incentives to the block producers. Your miners are not incentive getters. Then what is going to be happen? The remaining seniority you're going to have, you can be creative. Begin distributing incentives the people wants to have. That's basically what we want to have. Artificial intelligence agents is absolutely needed for cryptoverse to be self-sustainable. Self-sustainable means that it is going to be there down the road, right? For 100 years now. Why is it going back? Oh, okay. Anyway, so down the road. So this is what we are having. For self-sustainability to be provided, we want to have every participant, they have to have voluntary. They have to be voluntary. And incentive given by the system has to be compatible for his desires. But when we have desires, how can we define desires? Desires, social psychology, desires can have all different dimensions. People are different. People have different desires. Can we define that? Can we give incentives for different desires? Can we design that? One theory that we are dependent on is social psychology theory. That is, spiral dynamics. There is such one called the spiral dynamics and integral theory. We are trying to use that. We are going to try to separate the people, different types of people. We are categorizing the people and trying to give the buttons for the incentive buttons. We're not giving the incentives to themselves, to the people, ourselves. What we are trying to do is that we want to have, decentralized applications, distribute the incentives for us. So, for example, people go to the mountains for no reason, right? Do you go to the mountains? Do you climb mountains? No, I don't. But some silly people go to mountains. And some silly people go to North Poles, right? Why? I don't know. But it can be a way of, satisfying the people's desires, right? So that those incentives can serve people get satisfaction and sufficing satisfaction. That is what we're designing. So by the way, I've done my presentation here. Let me explain the last one. What we are actually having is that we want to have DApps are the part of our system. And not only the part of our system, the DApps are all to be connected in our system. So we have 10 million customer base, actually, tourist database, 10 million customer base. And those people who are has nothing to do with tour business, they still get the 10 million people database and they can do the service. And what we are having is that we want to have a platform sharing all those customer database. In usually other platforms, I guess I'm done with them. Usually other platforms, Ethereum, for example, they don't share the database. You have DApp developed, and that's all that is. But what we are having is that we are sharing the database all together and dApps. So that is what we are having. I'm done with it. And now, I'm sorry. So Albert Einstein said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used to when we created them. But what we are having is that, hey, Dr. Rubini, I'm talking to that guy. You better think about it. Mediocrity of the cryptocurrencies so far it has been only for 10 years. Mediocrity can be overcome and can be fixed. And mediocrity we can have a better, cryptocurrency platforms for the next 10 years, 20 years, probably within a few years, and my platform will be done, and everybody in the world will be happy. That's what Ecoverse is. What we do is that Ecoverse platform, now I'm developing my Ecoverse platform, is the is trying to build an economy system. You think about it, we are building economy system. Not we are trying to build one network. We're trying to build an economy system. This economy system is an Ubuntu economy, meaning that Ubuntu is an African word. That Ubuntu means I am because we are. And we are trying to build a system from 2008 financial crisis. This endeavor, trying to build a cryptographic platform, is perhaps the one to build an economy system. Perhaps that is Ubuntu economy system, and that is what we are embracing in our platform. Thank you.